So this is my case study, Everyday Counts for Fort Hays State University, 858 BC, and I am Brittany Weber. So this section 1 is talking about just the case. So what's happening, there's a concern over attendance at Golden Oak High School. Students are not meeting the requirements for attendance and are being excused by teachers in the school, even though they do not meet the criteria for attendance, excused attendance. Where and when, we're talking specifically about 5 students in the first semester. Who's concerned? The big concerned people are Dr. Newman, who's the superintendent, and Mr. Rhodes, who is the first year principal. Dr. Newman's concerned that Golden Oaks has the lowest attendance rate out of all the schools in the district, and Mr. Rhodes noticed that students are not being treated equal. There's also concern for younger siblings in a couple of the cases. Another issue, section 2 is talking about the legal and ethical issues. They are not meeting the legal requirement with these students. Perens Perete talks about the importance of parents being overrided in case they are not meeting it. And then Prince versus Massachusetts is just basically the court case that said, hey, your parents have a duty to get you to school. And in some cases, the parents are not forcing their children to go to school. Another big issue is more of an ethical one. It's talking about students aren't being treated fairly, and I talked about this on the last slide, and who's excused and who's not. People who have high grades and or place scores are more likely to be excused, and so they have higher rates. When the case talked about the students, it mentioned only one student was observed, and that student had lower grades and was not in extracurriculars with the school. Section 3, Mr. Rhodes is looking at solving the chronic absenteeism situation at Golden Oaks High School by first focusing on 5 individuals who have met the definition of chronic absenteeism in the first semester. What we know, here are the facts about the case. We know that 5 individuals are currently at 10 plus absences. Teachers are excusing certain students that do not fit the definition of excused absence. Students who are in athletic programs are being excused by higher rates. They have met with one family following the process. Most students are in the school are middle class. We do know that there are a few higher upper class, and we would assume that there would be some lower class students. But we don't know how many students are close to that 10 or above. It just focused on the 5, but we don't know exactly how many and why they chose those 5. We don't know how many teachers have utilized the 10-point decrease in grades. They did say that was an option for teachers. What did they try to do in the past to fix this problem? We know that this is not a first year problem. This has been an issue ongoing. And then what are the demographics of the students that are missing more in school? We know that certain demographics could lead up to dropout rates and stuff, so it would be important to know, are students of color missing more school than students that are not, or vice versa. Section 5, is this damaging to stakeholders or the community? Yes, with students not getting a full education, it will create a less educated community. It is very important that we have students getting educated so that they can be productive members in our society. Who has stake in this outcome? Well, teachers and staff, students, community members, and then parents. Who has been consulted? We know one parent has been consulted. We know some teachers, such as the athletic director, the principal, the superintendent. Can I learn more, and do I have enough to make a decision? Yes, of course I could learn more, such as knowing previous ideas to rectify this issue. I could make a decision, but I think the more important thing would be to make some of those unknowns known before I complete a new suggestion. So section 7 is my options available to me. So I have my pros and cons list. So option A is easy. What can we do? Option A is take no action and make no decision. Option B, take legal action against parents of students not meeting the attendance policy and mandate, and also enforce the grade expectations of teachers, writing up teachers who don't follow that policy. And then option C is to have a meeting with the teachers, reminding of the absentee policy, have parent meetings with all the students who are close or over the limit, send out multiple reminders home about the school policy, and students who are still missing school and need to make up with summer school. Now, here are my pros and cons of those. Option A of doing nothing. It's an easy solution. Is it a solution? No, that's one of the cons. Consequence from the superintendent. The superintendent has asked the principal to fix this problem. So if the superintendent asks you to fix this problem and you don't fix this problem, it's very possible you either don't get your contract renewed or you have another harsh consequence. There's possible legal ramifications. We know that we are legally not meeting the expectations that the law has set up for us with these students. And another con, students aren't learning. We know that if students aren't at school, they are not learning. Option B, these are more high stakes. It would be a higher consequence of parents and students, so it would probably solve some of those absenteeism. If parents were held more accountable, they would probably be more likely to send their kids in school. The huge con in it is it could hurt the relationship between parents, students, and teachers. Parents aren't going to want to support the school that's taking legal actions against them. Students aren't going to want to come to school because they know they're going to be frustrated with it. And then it could also hurt our relationship with our teachers. We know that there's less turnover rate, and that if we start writing teachers up for this behavior, we could end up increasing that behavior of turnovers. Option C would be to do all those little steps. It would keep a relationship with parents and teachers. It would remind everybody of the expectations without calling people out. And it will allow a learning opportunity for students missing. It's very important that we know that parents know these are the expectations. Right now, we don't know exactly what has been done. It may still not help those chronic cases. We know of one student who had specifically talked about parents said they did not think that it was their job to force their child to go to school. We know that those parents will still not follow those expectations, and if we can't get them to school now, how can we do it at summer school? Is another con. I do think the best decision in this situation would be option C, just because of those unknowns that we have. We know enough about the situation to make the decision, but option C would allow us the opportunity to know more and give us that opportunity to communicate with more stakeholders and make sure everyone is clear of the policy and why it's important to have students at school. Students still not meeting those attendance expectations would have to make up time. So steps to implement my action plan, we would want to first let the board and superintendent know. We would not want to implement this plan without saying, hey, here's my plan of action, here's what the goal is. 2 is to have a meeting with teachers and staff so you explain the policy and the legal ramifications of not following a policy. We need the teachers and staff to fully be aware, hey, this is an issue, this is why it's an issue. We also want them to be aware that there's an ethical issue going on. 3, meet in person or call each family who are at. I went with 7 or more, even though it's not considered chronic, but I went with 7 or more absences, explaining that attendance policy and ramifications. And I said, do this as needed because obviously as school goes on, we'll have more students get closer. Hopefully we want it, but as we do that, we get closer to it. We'd also want to send out an email home to parents just reminding everyone of this issue. Then we would want to set up a summer school list and have students added to the summer school list as we met those days. That stuff. Then we would want to observe this plan working. We would want to take at least probably 2 or 3 weeks to see if students are increasing and if it's not. And if it's not and we're still having issues, we would have to go with that plan B of taking legal action against parents and then probably even having teacher consequences. So this meets standard 6 because it not only allows us to analyze a case, but the case student data, but it also has us create our own plan of action. It allows us to show that we understand how to make a plan based on data given to us. It also meets 6.2 because it allows us to demonstrate our use and understanding of important factors in the fix of a real-world problem in school. Here's my resources. Thank you.